Welcome to the Black Phoenix Financial Podcast. Lee Kemp here for another week of learning with my good friend Ethan Cope. How are we doing this week?
Good to see you, Lee. Good to be with everyone, for sure.
Excellent. So we're starting a little different this week, aren't we? What are we doing?
Yeah, well, we've had 10 episodes so far, and this is the 11th episode. So we're going to do something super special for all you busy bees. We know that things, even though COVID's been crazy, most of us simply haven't slowed down. So in order to serve everyone and appeal to as many listeners as possible, we want to offer something new this week. And it's going to be the first 5 minutes of every show is going to be a way to grow your trading account by taking this one key thought every week and then working on it on your own time. So this week, we're actually going to start with something that's super important for every trader, and that's preserving mental capital. Your emotions have to be good, and you're a beginner. Most of us, even the traders that have been in this a long time, we're all children, right? And we're all still learning. So the idea is that we constantly have to be able to tell ourselves it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay that this trade didn't go perfect, but to talk to ourselves and remind ourselves every day of the improvement that we've made. Say the book that we read, the idea that we're sitting in front of the market and we're trying to learn the trades that we've had and that we can feel proud of, even if it's just a little portion of the trade. So staying positive is a great way to pay yourself. And then what we're going to look at later in this video is how to pay yourself in the trade, because taking profits is so important in trading. It's actually just as important, or maybe even more important than cutting a losing trade short, is learning how to take money off the table. So those are the two ways in 5 minutes that we can truly show some progress, is by preserving that mental capital, staying positive about our trades, and paying ourselves in two different ways. Paying ourselves by listing the positives each day and paying ourselves in the trade. So that's the idea, that we're going to go back into the simulations today, and Lee is going to show us some of his simulations, and we're going to work through how to immediately start recycling profits and how we put on risk in harmony with the profits that we're able to take off the table. So that's the goal today. For all of our regular listeners who stick around with us for a half hour, that's going to be where the gold is at. And then for all you quick busy bees, we hope we gave you some food for thought this week on staying positive, paying yourself in two ways: paying yourself by listing the positives and paying yourself in the trade. So paying yourself in the trade is what we're going to concentrate on today. Excited to get into it on Chart Game again.
Excellent. Now I'm looking forward to doing it. So everyone, again, as Ethan said, we thank you. We're now on the 11th show now. If you're watching this on the quick 5-minute version and you're interested to hear more, especially on how you lock in those profits for yourself and pay yourself, which I'm really excited to be doing, then click on the full episode. It's episode 11. You can see it all. If you're already on the episode, you're in the right place. Stick with us and you're going to get some education gold from us this week. Again, catch us on social media, Ethan at T4A Phoenix, Phoenix spelled Phenux. We on the show are at BP Financial Pod, and YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are watching or listening. Hit subscribe, leave us a comment, leave a review. We really, really appreciate it. So kick us off. What do we want to do? Do we want to go and Chart Game and start looking at locking some profits, or do we want to look at some of the key levels I did on my homework last week, or should we save that to a bit later?
Well, we do have the key levels from last week, and that's actually going to start us off, I think, with how to lock in profits, because the key levels actually gives us a starting point and an end point for where we start to see our trades being profitable. And every trade is made up of micro movements, and those micro movements allow us to be profitable and move risk into a trade. So first, let's look at your homework if
Cool.
you want, and we'll look at those key levels from last week. That'll
I'll
be a
get
good
my
lift off.
I'll get my grade. You tell me whether I've got an A plus or a C minus.
All right, I'm sure it's good. Looking forward to it.
I appreciate your enthusiasm. So here we go. This is number one. This is how it opens on chart game. So this is before the day started. I'm going to pretend that I'm Michael Wall Street and say that this is before the bell rang. I don't even know if that's a real term, but it sounds cool. So, and I've added in the blue line. So when I started, that's what I saw as the top and bottom for where that was over the previous day. So just below 19.2 and just above 19.6. Then it progressed for the day, and it's because it doesn't do the whole thing on my screen. This is then a snapshot of later in the day to what you can see towards the end of the day. So that's the top level there. And it was a bit up and down, and it hit here. I'm marking this here because it hit the golden 3 end-to-end candles, which normally to me would have been, oh, this is good. I'm going to look to go in. But what I thought was it's still not breached its 19.6 and it's a bit away from it. So I want to see what it does on the next couple before I decide to do something. And then actually, that was it. It's just hugged that line for the rest of the day and not really done anything.
That's exactly what we were seeing last week. I'm glad you picked that out.
And then just for a wider shot, so you can see the whole context of the day, this is it over the 2 days. So you can see at bottom, it opened with a big gap down, then looked quite good with 2 big ones, hit again, kind of flirted with its level and dropped straight back off. And that's where I thought, oh, I'm not sure. And in my head, I was thinking, is it going to keep pushing that line or is it going to break through today? And for context, that's where my little 3 was. And then it just kind of stayed that way for the day. But I saw it didn't concern me because it didn't go below its level. And I suppose you can argue and say, well, from here to here would have been a pretty good margin for the day. But I don't think anyone could have predicted from that being the first movement that it would have necessarily shot straight back up again.
Right.
So I don't know what your thoughts are looking at that one.
The idea there, I think you did it really nicely because, like you said, I think that was the open, maybe right there where it showed that differences in price where it went down real far and then showed those 2 end-to-end candles and then could have potentially been a long in there at some point.
Yeah.
But I like your thoughts on the key levels and how watching those key levels. It feels like you miss trades here and there if you're waiting for the key levels, but you also stay within a rule based approach or a rule-based parameter that's good for every beginner. And I feel like us locking in profits is really going to add nicely to that mindset.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to looking at that. And I think you're right, because you could argue, there's lots of little ups and downs to make money here, but I don't, especially at my level, I don't think I'd have the confidence to work that minutely on it.
Right. And that's what we'll learn. That's why the topic of our show today is pay yourself. And that's because, like you talked about, looking at that chart, there's some areas that could be difficult for sure. And then there's other areas where you saw that there was a potential trade.
Yeah.
And what paying yourself allows you is it allows you to immediately get some mental capital involved in the trade. You give yourself a little cushion each day to work off of, and you watch your profit loss while you're in the trade, that you're not starting to work off of yesterday's profit or the day before's profit. So if you feel like pulling up chart game,
yeah, absolutely, let's give this a go. I'm always a fan of jumping on chart game. One ready to go here.
We'll look at charts a little bit and see what type of profits that we can work together on.
Cool. So shall I start moving through this one?
Go ahead. Yeah. And I know your account's already profitable because we had a few accidental
my accidental profits.
So that's okay. Hopefully we can hang on to them.
Oh, hold on. We've got a bit of lag going on here. We'll have to pad for time. It'll catch up with itself in a second.
But that's the whole idea of staying positive is even immediately when we get in a trade, we're able to immediately pay ourselves right when it starts going our direction. Pay
Yeah.
ourselves and lock in a stop that covers the entry itself so that we feel confident as soon as we get into a trade. You know, we feel in control. Because as we talked about in previous shows, that when that confidence disappears, when that control feels like it's on shaky ground, that's the time when we get frustrated and we say, hey, I don't want to trade anymore.
Well, we're having technical difficulties here on our chart game. Let me just log back in
That's
quickly.
okay.
This is
That's
what we mean,
okay.
people. We are doing this raw, we're doing it live, and it doesn't always go to plan.
That's true. That's true. And just remembering that often that's kind of the situation that most traders find themselves in on the daily is that you can have a plan, and when things do go according to plan, that's when you can make the most of your profits. But all the times when things don't go according to plan is goes right along with the education that we're trying to give you guys, because you're going to stay safe in every situation.
So here we go. We're on. We've had a massive gap down.
Yep. So using all the tools that we have learned in the past, we look at this and it's hugging that support level where we've talked about picking out the key levels at 95.75
Yeah.
key level, and then also 96.50. So right here, we don't necessarily have a trade yet. So there's really no way to lock in profits, but we're going to exercise our patience.
I'm going to look
for
through.
Sure.
I'll obviously say when I think, but if you see there's a point to jump in with a trade, just shout stop in my ear and I'll be on it. But this already doesn't feel like the one.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything's doing. We can just skip this chart if we want. See if we can get to.
We don't like
I want to see
DGT.
Yeah, I want to see if we can get in a situation where I can show our listeners right away how to take a profit off the table, because it's pretty quick. You know, even $10, $15, which you can quickly make in this chart game. I want our listeners to take that off the table right away. As soon as you have a profit, take it off and re-enter. Take it off and re-enter. And it's not like I want our traders and beginners to learn that that's the final step in their education, is to immediately take profits that quick. But in line with the theme of our episode, pay yourself, and how preserving mental capital is so exciting, is because in the trade, when you there's this tangible psychological factor to taking money off the table immediately that adds to your comfort level.
Right, I'm feeling good here on this one. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, let's see where it goes.
We've got a few positive greens and a bit of buying, so I'm going to hit my buy button.
Okay.
There we go. As soon as I've got an L for long. What's that?
Excellent.
So I've put in 10. Is that what we're saying? $10? Or have I put in loads of money? Oh no, look, I bought.
I don't know. It just said buy, but the unrealized says 180. So I would actually not click next bar yet. I would click sell right away. So boom. Right after that, we see that little X there. And that means as of today, we are profitable. We locked in gains of $180. And very quick, that's a micro movement. It's called a scalp.
Yeah.
And if you look there, realized profit loss, we have 0.18%. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to just, okay, I locked in a profit. I feel good about that. I'm going to hit next bar and move on without adding to it yet.
Cool. And I see that. So when I bought, it's moved me on a bar anyway, hasn't it? That's where there we go.
Exactly. So now we missed we maybe potentially missed a little bit of a wick there, but we also stayed safe. And we see how immediately, boom, you take profits off the table. You feel so much better about that than if you held through a minor
Absolutely. And
correction.
like we said, we're already dropping back down again. So we're dropping
Yep.
down massively now. I feel good with my 0.18.
Excellent. And we get to see like, okay, yeah, that wasn't an amazing trade. And micro movements never feel that amazing in terms of, everybody likes to see a chart where you buy all the way at the bottom and you sell all the way at the top. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. But as a beginner in chart game, you want to learn how to press the buttons. You want to learn what the candles mean. You want to learn how to work on trade management. So buying and selling quickly, buying and selling quickly, buying and selling quickly
Yeah.
will eventually translate into capturing long amounts of trends. And as you lock in profits quickly, you're able to say, okay, I have $180 to work with on this trade, which means that my risk still has to be super tight because I could quickly lose 180. So, like we said, cautiously and optimistically in this trade, we got in, we got out. Yeah, sure, we'd like to make more money, but at the same time, I mean, it was a perfect trade. It was
I think we got
small,
in
it
and
was
out of the
quick.
peak of the day so far, haven't we? Looking at this, because it's just it's teetering on baby personality for me here. It's just going down, 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 down now.
Yes, absolutely. And for our beginners too, I'm hoping that maybe they would look for a little bit more of a bullish signal than what we did. But we're also trying to exemplify for our listeners how quick I want you guys to get in and out of a trade and then reassess,
So are we
immediately.
seeing this one through to the end? Or are we done with this one? Because there's probably not another opportunity today.
Yeah, I think we're done with that one just because I'm going to try to teach our listeners how to buy and sell. This could have maybe been a nice short for us
Yeah,
later on in the future when we learn how to short. But look at how good we feel
I
about
do
that. I
feel good
mean,
about
chart
this. I'll
game,
be honest.
nice, yeah. And chart game gives us these nice little blurbs that say, "Great Scott, could you manage my portfolio?" In this, exactly, that's how we pay ourselves. We need to, this is a hard game. This is a very hard skill to learn, a skill that most people don't even understand. They call it gambling. But pay yourself, pay yourself, pay yourself. Talk to yourself, tell yourself good job. Talk to yourself while you're in the trade. Could I take profit here quickly and then add more or recycle?
Let's go for this next
um,
one.
there we go.
Where
Yep.
are we? And we've already, I mean, it opened near the top of its indicators. It's gapped up heavily. A couple more checks, do you think, before making a decision?
Yeah, for sure. And let's identify our key levels. Again, we always have to stop and look at our rules. 4260 is the support. It appears on this chart.
Yeah,
And then there's that overhead resistance at 43, which it kind of planted a negative flag there uh, and said it's kind of like we talked about, it's thinking about that area, but it
yeah.
certainly has some trepidation. So
Do you
we're
know
gonna
what? That's the
avoid.
word that was in my head there, trepidation. That's perfect for what that looks like there.
Okay, yeah,
We've clearly been
absolutely.
spending far too much time together. We're using the same words now.
Yeah, yep. There you go. So we're just gonna kind of sit on our hands, which is the beautiful trait of all profitable traders, is to display patience and wait for our signal. Wait for our signal. You know. And Lee, do you mind telling our listeners real quick what our signal could be?
Right now, we're looking for positive movement above that 43.2 line right now,
Yes. Yep. And
which
the end
it's
candles.
just hugging. I was going to say a run of 3 end-to-end candles, which I love, and pushing above that number. And it keeps trying. Look, that's
Exactly.
it. Does it? It does 2, and then it drops off again.
So this would
It's
be an
teasing me
example.
today.
Very good. So we're going to exemplify this chart for our listeners, and we'd say, hey, these are examples where you might really want to trade, but the chart is telling you, don't trade me, because everybody who's involved right now is they're cautious. That word we use, there's trepidation. And as a buyer, you don't want to get involved in that. You want to get involved in a ticker where they're excited about the next price level and it's apparent.
And this is it going through, because it's just running on that line. It does a couple of positive movements. It drops again. It's not even getting close to the 43.2 again. And it falls absolutely, I think, in that no personality range. But I kind of feel why it's a no personality as well. It's like it's a personality within no personality. And it
Yeah,
is
that's
that
true.
it's like it's anxious.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it for sure. So let's see. Let's move on to our next chart and let's
Yeah.
see if maybe we can find a quick way
We'll get this in before the
to
end
pay
of the day.
ourselves.
So more positive, lots of greens for the start of the day there.
Very good.
Big gap
And
up
we
with a lot of
see,
sales.
as we go through charts, we'll actually see some differences in movement right off the bat with our personalities in the
Ooh.
price of the stock. So here we have the key levels at 128 and
Yeah.
130.66, the middle range being around 129, and how the different price range stocks actually move different, and how the personality and share structure that we talked about even affects things on these simulations. So we do see interest at that level. For example purposes, we can consider taking a buy
Yeah.
at some point, but it's not really. It wouldn't exemplify the type of trade I would want a beginner to take. I'd only use it as an example
Okay.
of how to get in and out.
Yeah, because it's not, again, it's set a slightly higher level when it's stuck there now, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess we'll hold our money.
Let's leave this one behind in the dust. Goodbye,
Very good.
PVH. Let's see who's next.
Another example of how much patience it takes, even in simulation, to let the trade come to you.
We're going to snipe our way through this. There's some positive
Yes.
indicators here. If this next one's green, I'm
There's
going in.
Yeah, that's a good example of
Oh,
a situation where we could wait for that for it to reclaim 21 and then we can buy.
do you think here? Do you
There
think
we
see what
go.
happens next? Shall I do a buy?
Yeah, we can try it, and if not, we'll work on stopping out.
Oh,
Very
look,
good. So,
we're going to sell out straight away.
yep,
There we go.
because we're working on micro movements.
0.4. There you go. 0.1 last time, maybe 0.2. Now on 0.4 profit. Cha-ching.
Very good. So that's how quickly we take a micro movement off the table.
And
And
that's
then we sit
literally, in
tight.
real terms, I'm in for 5 minutes there. Is that what that looks like?
Yeah, yep, very quick, very, very quick. And what you see at the bottom there is we're growing our account. We're paying ourselves. We're learning to work risk off of what we've already built into our account rather than taking risk out of uh, previous capital that was used to start our trading business. Because what we're attempting to do as a beginner is we're trying to start an at-home trading business that we can trade from our home, and we don't want to work off of that initial capital. We want to learn to work off of our profits.
Yes.
And that keeps us from blowing up. You know, we might even want to highlight that aspect of our show, is that learning how to take profits off of the profits we've already made is a way to avoid risking your initial capital, which preserves a trader from blowing up. That's the most important thing in this game, is to stay in it.
And we're leveling out for the day now. Here we
Very
go.
good.
Here we go. Look at this. So I'm up on the day.
Yes. And this is what, there's an expression among traders, obviously has a negative implication in the dating world, but it says nail and bail. And the idea there is that you nail a trade, you nail your exact strategy, and then boom, you're done for the day. And that's what a lot of traders often do, is they have a very specific strategy, a very specific time of day, and an extra 180, an extra $400 a day in anybody's life, that's life-changing money.
Absolutely. Well, this is here today. $590, I think, is my my chart gain profit across what, 5 charts.
Excellent.
2 of them with a little bit of a movement in. I like that. So it's about those short little realizations of profit rather than a longer term.
Yeah, and what we'll actually learn is that's just a starting point for us. You know, the idea is to learn how to capture as much trend as possible.
Yeah.
Learn how to size in and then size out, so that we initially build a little bit of profit into the trade for that day. And then if the trade is going our way, we learn to take on more risk, recycle that profit, put that profit back in, and immediately grab it again. Take it off the table, put it back in, grab it, take it off the table. And that's how we pay ourselves mentally. That's how we pay our trading account as well. So I hope that little bit of simulation helped everyone, for sure. We're going to continue to look at that in next week's episode, as well as profit taking and trend. And I don't know where we're at timing wise, but I wanted to talk about where I'm going to be for the next week. Is I'm going to be working on my mindfulness. I've been working on the Wim Hof breathing and ice bathing for a number of years now because of my personal situation. I originally learned about Wim Hof in Central Oregon on the West Coast in a sauna. I was with a lot of different other people who are pursuing health and mindfulness, and they said, hey, you know, you got to check out this guy, the Iceman, Wim Hof, who's, you know, jumps into a big crater full of ice and he looks crazy. So I've been doing that, and I have great things to report regarding my anxiety level, my health. My longest breath hold the other day was almost 3 minutes, you know, which is amazing. Most of us can't picture holding our breath for longer than 30 seconds, right? But it shows us that we have the ability to store things inside us, the ability to store oxygen. And so this next week, I'm going to be working on my Tumo retreat, which is the basis of the Wim Hof method. And it's based on that fire breathing. And the reason I want to incorporate that into our show is because anybody who's a trader knows that when you actually have money on the line, you need to learn how to breathe. You need to learn how to stay centered, you know, in the moment. Oh, this could happen or that could happen. Nope. Center, stay straight. And I hope to tell you guys about all the cool things I've learned after this week. So I'm going to be checking in each day with the market, at the end of the day, just so we don't miss out on anything big. And then I'm gonna tell you guys what I've learned from that. Um, I know it's outside of many people's comfort zone, some of the ice bathing and stuff, but I hope I can be entertaining at the very least.
It's excellent stuff, and I found it really inspiring. Obviously, we've talked about this for a little while now, but encourage everyone watching, everyone listening, head over to Ethan's Twitter, social media, at T4A Phoenix, T4A PHENUX, and just go back through and you will see his video diaries of starting off very small with this and day by day building up that resistance, building up resilience to the cold, learning your breathing methods. Honestly, for anyone who's interested in it, it's an absolutely fantastic watch. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this week goes for you, of what you're looking to do as well. But again, everyone head over, have a look, because again, especially at the moment the world is, mindfulness stuff is so important, just for our general well-being. And again, it's part of that toolbox for your trading, that you can stay in that positive place when you're doing well or you're not doing well. So I think it dovetails perfectly into what we're doing here as well.
And there's something to remember about this big silver hammer too, is the idea with trading and also with the Tumo or Wim Hof is this word, gradualism. The idea that we're, the hammer, it don't look that big when you're taking little chunks. It doesn't look that big when you're making these small incremental steps each day. But when you put it all together, that's a big hammer. It becomes a very powerful hammer, because gradualism allows you to put yourself in the place of day one. Day one, I started. I'm making gradual steps towards this lofty goal that you'll eventually get there. Take time, be patient. We talk about in this episode, pay yourself. Figure out a way to feel good every day about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Really, really great advice. And you obviously the next week you are going to be on it with your with the meditation, what you're doing. Now you've opened Pandora's box for me, and I'm going to stick to it, but I'm going to see how many of these little trades I can get done between now and then. And what I'll do is I'll record everyone, good and bad, and I'll stick them in all a little montage, and we can see how I look doing this in the week. And as you talk about, in my spare time, in between working, in between doing stuff around the house, get my phone out, make these little trades, and hopefully I'll be feeling in a good place in 7 days' time about it.
Okay, excellent. And I'm not going to leave you guys hanging. I have a few hot picks for you this week that you can watch for next week. Some of them are the same, and I actually have a brand new one that I'm watching. It's the ticker abbreviation is FRO. That's Frontline. Many of us are familiar with the company Frontline. We've heard it before with our pets. It's a high volume, normally traded, and it's at an extreme oversold level. So Frontline, Smile Direct Club is still a buy, and Hanes brand is still a buy at this level. So I hope that helps. There'll be things to watch until I come back and check in with everyone next week.
Excellent. Like I said, two that have become familiar favourites for us, which were brand new a little while ago, and we've had some really good days on them in the last couple of weeks, and a new one in. So
sure.
Fantastic advice. As always, we thank everyone for listening and watching. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, follow us on YouTube, and we'll be back again next week. He's been Ethan Coate, I've been Lee Kemp, and we have been the Black Phoenix Financial Podcast.